I was on a series of failed elimination or failed calorie restrictive diets, sad diets, that I'd been on since I was a kid because I was this big my whole life. When I was 14, I weighed 600 pounds, and so I just was fighting it my whole, as a kid all the way up through my whole adult life. It was just a series of dietitians and, and calorie restrictive diets that didn't work, and just recommendations to get bariatric surgery. But I never wanted to do that because my mom had gastric bypass and it failed, and my sister has lap band and it failed. And so I knew that that wasn't the magic pill everybody was saying it was, or at least not for us. So, um, yeah, and I was on these diets, and I'd always get frustrated with them because they were just maddening. I was always hungry. I was always low on energy. It was all willpower every time, white knuckling it the whole way. And so I'd always revert back to just a starvation diet. Basically, it was easier not to eat than it was to try to manage and control how many carbs I was, or how many calories I was going to eat a day when I was still eating carbs. It was insane. But so I was doing that, and I was on this weightlifter diet, high protein, low fat diet, moderate carbohydrate, and I'd been on it for 14 months, and it was the worst diet I ever been on in my life. I was the most depressed I'd ever been in my life that time too, and I was just fighting this depression, anxiety, and I was about to fall off the wagon for the umpteenth millionth time, and I looked up. I looked up how to not make. I was eating so much dried chicken breast. I looked up how to not make it dry. I was trying to figure out how to cook chicken not dry and tasteless, and it came up sous vide cooking was the best way to cook chicken. So I looked up that, and I was watching this YouTube channel of sous vide everything, and they were sous videing these ribeyes seared in butter. And I'd been eating dried chicken for 14 months. So I was just drooling watching this channel of these guys cooking these delicious ribeyes seared in butter. So I ordered that machine, and long story short, when I got here, I was like, before I go to back to dried chicken purgatory, I'm gonna have a ribeye one time. And so, but I ate this ribeye seared in butter, and I ended up doing it for 4 days actually, because I bought a pack of four from Costco, four ribeyes, and I decided that if I just had one meal and it was just a ribeye seared in butter, it's kind of still fit in my calorie count for the day, compared to my old high protein weightlifter diet. And it was crazy. Just in that 4 days of eating ribeyes, my depression lifted. I felt great. I lost 9 pounds in 4 days. I like my knees stopped hurting so bad. Like I accidentally went into ketosis, didn't even know what it was, and it just blew my mind. And I finally Googled it. I'm like, why is eating ribeye seared in butter making me feel so good and lose weight? Like, what is this? And that was first time I had heard about the ketogenic diet. That's what came up on Google, and I jumped in.
Nice. So you started with keto. How did keto go for you? Because similar to you, I started with keto also, and I loved it at first, but
Right?
I lost a bunch of weight. I gained it all back, and then I did that about 20 times, I think, throughout maybe 10 years. How'd it
Yeah,
go for you?
I did that exact same thing for 2 years. Sadly, when I Googled why I was feeling good on ribeyes and butter, if it would have taken me to carnivore, you'd be looking at a skinny man right now.
Yes. Yeah.
But
Hey, you know, we joke about it too. I'm the same way. Like when people ask for recommendations too, they're always like, "Oh, Carrie, you would have lost all this weight if you would have just ate plants, or you would have just done this." And I'm like, I kind of joke with him. I'm like, it is kind of serious too, because I feel the same way you do. If I would have found carnivore when I found keto, man, what a different life. Both of us would be sitting. I don't. Maybe we wouldn't be sitting here, but I don't know. But
yeah.
yeah, 10 years ago, I would have lost all the weight. But
Oh, seriously, and this was just in, like, I'm trying to think when that was, like 2019 when that happened. But unfortunately, I found keto, and that spiraled me out on these keto processed junk crap
yeah,
products. Like, fat bombs and like the Atkins peanut butter cups and
Yep.
protein bars and all this stuff. And all it was doing is I was trying to eat my old addictive diet, but make it a keto version of it. And I went down like 2+ years of that stupid roller coaster. And
Todd, dude, I hear you 100%. Man, when I first started keto, it was like 10 years ago, and it was natural. Like I was eating steak and I was eating burger patties and bacon. I lost a whole bunch of weight, but that's the problem with keto now. There's just so many keto snacks and keto junk food, and oh, I could do this tortilla and that tortilla, and it got so far away from natural at this point.
yeah,
That's
big
another thing I hate too, because these people are trying so hard, and they're in Costco, and they're like, "Oh, this is keto friendly," and they're inflamed, and there's seed oils and garbage in it.
right. You've got to be so tuned in and so trained now to understand. You got to, you got to kind of, well, I call it getting red pilled. You got to get red pilled and understand that all that crap and all these, big food products with the taglines and the tag names and all the, these fad things, that's all that happened to keto, in my opinion. Is it does work for a lot of people and it can work, but it's got to be basically ketovore. It's got to be whole food carnivore plus a little bit of carnivorous vegetables if you can take that thing and if it won't throw you off the rails. But there's a lot of people that can't even do that because it just keeps them on that carb addicted cycle.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
that guy for sure.
Yeah, me too. I think a lot of people are falling down that. It's a shame too, because I see people like you go to Costco or whatever, I get some meat there, and people are trying so hard. I fell for it over and over again too. It's like, oh, Costco, they got some good products. It says it's keto friendly, says it's low carb. It's funny. Hey,
Yeah.
just real quick, I got to shout out the carnivore mommy, Sherry. She stopped into the theater today, and we were talking about some of the stuff earlier too on the keto stuff. She's got a pretty good YouTube channel, but anyhow, I'm sorry. So you were saying, so
Oh,
you
no
you
worries.
s- you started a keto, and then eventually, how did you end up going from that into carnivore?
So I went off and on the wagon on keto for 2 years, and then I was fed up with it, and my situation was getting dire at this point. My health had gone downhill. I was working from home because I couldn't climb the stairs at work anymore, to be honest with you. And I was just working from home. I was just getting more sedentary in my lungs. I had a real bad lung problem called reactive airway disease, and my oxygen on a good day was at 88% saturation, which is not good. Um, and so I was just always winded, always having bronchitis and pneumonia every winter. And I'd been in the ICU a couple of times over just my lungs. I'd have to be on 12 liters of oxygen, and blood thinners and all this stuff to get my lungs working again. And so I was working from home, went through these keto things, failed for 2 years, just another kind of roller coaster, really. And then I read Jason Fung's book on the diabetes code, and he talked about the fasted insulin set point and how basically your body wants to be a certain size based off of what your fasted insulin is. What your fasted insulin levels are. And he said, unfortunately, there's the only really way to tackle that is with long fasting, over a period of time. It takes a while to get that fasted insulin down. So, uh, typical to my compulsive all in or all out nature, I decided I was going to do a 40-day water fast. And I didn't, I didn't do any of the proper research, or I didn't get electrolytes or anything. I just jumped in with both feet, because my situation was kind of getting dire. Like I was really sedentary and my world was getting really, really small. And I was having a real hard time getting around. And this is end of 2020 to beginning of 2021 when everybody was stuck at home, anyways. And I did this made it 21 days into the water fast. And then
Wow.
I had a terrible asthma attack, and I didn't know where it was coming from, but it was brutal. And it was followed by like a pretty bad anxiety attack too. And so I had to seek a little bit of medical attention. I was trying to figure out what was going on, if it was related to the 21-day fast. And sure enough, I wasn't taking electrolytes. And so I was drinking all this water and peeing a bunch and not putting anything back in, and my potassium got dangerously low. And I didn't even know this was possible, but I guess if your potassium gets so low, it somehow does something to your blood plasma, and your red blood cell count goes down. You like lose blood cell platelets.
Mm.
And that's why I had an asthma attack, because I didn't have enough red blood cells to carry oxygen. And so I had this, so they had to put me back on potassium, and I had to go back to eating for a little bit. But what was really bad was COVID caught me with my pants down, because when I didn't have red blood cells, my immune system was shot. And so I got COVID right when my immune system was down, and COVID hit me super hard. I got just terrible pneumonia from that. And a buddy of mine, Ryan, had just got it a week earlier, and he went in finally to the doctor, and he's the same age as me, but way healthy, avid hunter, hiker, super healthy guy. And he went in and got, certain treatment that I didn't agree with. But anyhow, 17 hours later, he passed away in the hospital at 38. And so I was just like, I'm not going in the hospital then, because, if Ryan couldn't make it through that, I don't know that I'm going to make it through that. And so I stayed at home, and that was good and bad, because I did get through it, and it was quite the fight, but it was bad. Because it just caused a bunch of problems. I got COVID lung. It scarred up my lungs real bad. And then I ended up kind of hurting my heart. I got congestive heart failure at that point. And in a 3 week period, I gained 84 pounds of fluid. And I just swelled up. Like I relate so much when you said the other day, and I think it was a members only deal, but you were talking about how Bill's legs look like garbage bags full of fluid. That was me. My legs were just huge. I mean, my calves were 35 inches in diameter a piece, and I couldn't lift my own legs. And it just
Wow.
happened overnight, basically. And it was painful. Um, so yeah, I worked for a while, try to get that off there. Something happened one night. It was about 4 months after this. I was working on getting the fluid off. I was trying to get back to keto, but I was just so sick at that time. Life was not very fun. And I stopped breathing one night for, I guess, a long period of time, because I woke up and my oxygen was 62% saturation when I woke up, and I was confused. I thought I had a stroke, because I didn't know where I was. I couldn't recall words. Just was not a good scenario, and I was still really confused. Like 6 hours later, I didn't know where I was. Like it would take me a minute to realize where I was. And so I had to go to the hospital, which was rough on its own. It took quite a few firefighters to get me in an ambulance. You know what I
Mm.
mean? Was not a it was not a fun experience, and went to the hospital, and that's when they told me I had COVID lung. I had congestive heart failure. I had my blood pressure was going off the Richter scale. I was at a high. They weren't sure if I had a stroke, because the only way they could check was in an MRI, but I wouldn't fit. But I might have had a stroke. They weren't sure. Put me on blood thinners. I was in the hospital for 11 days. They got 64 pounds of fluid off me in 11 days, um, with Lasix, and put me on oxygen. And then they finally sent me home with a bucket of more pills, prescription pills. Just, I was on gout pills and nebulizer steroids and Advair and puffer inhaler steroids and beta blockers, and I couldn't even tell you them all. Fluid pills. They always want me to take depression and anxiety medication. They prescribe that, but I'd watch people close to me take those, and they walked around like zombies, so I never would fill the prescription. They kept telling me to take them, but I wouldn't do it. Um, just had a bucket of pills. And then I had to follow up a Zoom follow up like a week later. And when I was talking, and because they hooked me up with a cardiologist, and all of a sudden I had all these appointments. I had a sleep study set for 3 months later. I had to see a lung specialist, and they were setting me up with this appointment. And now I got this cardiologist guy, and I was just on the phone talking to him on a Zoom call, and it was just it was so robotic. He was talking to me like I was a car, and he was just like, "Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're just going to need this now, and that's just the way it is, and you're just going to go through these processes, and it's probably going to get worse, and you might die." It was just so I can't even explain it. What like I almost just zoned out, and I just right on that phone call I was like, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not going to be this guy. I'm going to figure this out with diet. I'm going to lose this weight or I'm going to die trying, and I don't care what happens first. I just don't care. But I'm not going to be a guy that's going to take 50 pills and now my life is going to be about bugging my family to get my 700-pound body into a new specialist to look at a new thing to give me a new prescription to do this new thing. I was just like, I'm not living this life. There's just no way. And so anyways, it was right after that I was like, all right, it's time to do keto again, but this time it's, I was going to be super strict, whole foods, keto with carnivorous vegetables only, and I ordered one of those blood prick meters that check your ketone levels.
Yep.
And that was when everything's changed because I was making taco salads. I already knew I was like, I need to be in autophagy. I need my tissue to heal. I need my heart to heal. I need my lungs to heal. So I'm gonna do OMAD. So I started doing OMAD right away, and I was like, and I'm just gonna make one taco salad a day, and that's gonna be it. And then I was pricking my finger, and I wasn't getting into ketosis with this taco salad. It was making me so mad because it had been like 3 weeks, and I was just under being in ketosis. So I was like, well, people are saying that the cheese and dairy keeps them out of ketosis sometimes. So I just started eliminating cheese and dairy. And basically, I was just watching that ketone meter and taking my blood every day, and I was just eliminating things and to get that number as high as I could get it. And where I ended up was I was eating eggs, lettuce, and meat. That was where I ended up at. And I was like, the lettuce was making me mad. I wasn't mobile yet. And I was having to order lettuce in, and I was having to order like 3 or 4 Instacart orders a week because lettuce goes bad in like 3 days and turns brown and slimy. And so the lettuce was the only part of keto that was left. And I'm like, and I don't even like it anyhow. So I'm like, I'm going carnivore. And I chucked it. And then at the same time, I was fighting a real bad soda addiction. I could not get off the diet soda. It was
Mm.
driving me crazy. It was the worst addiction I had this whole time. And I watched Dr. Berg. He made this lemonade, this sparkling lemonade that was like volcanic lemon juice, sparkling water, some liquid stevia, and some electrolyte powder. And he said to use it as a substitute. And I did that for 4.5 weeks. And then that was where the magic happened. Whatever between, at that time, I was BBB&E, OMAD, and I was drinking just this. I got off the iced tea, the diet iced tea, the, sugar, fake sugar sweetened coffees and diet sodas. I got rid of all that. And I was just drinking this lemon juice with electrolytes. I was on BB&E and I was doing OMAD. And I don't know what happened, but it's something, some switch flipped and I didn't crave nothing anymore at all. And I was satiated all the time. I was never hungry. I went way deep into ketosis. All the depression and anxiety was gone. And it was just, it literally felt like in a 3 week period, everything turned around. It was just, I had to even get rid of the lettuce and the black pepper. That was the last thing I got rid of. But when I did that, man, everything turned around, and it's been the easiest, greatest thing I've ever done since.
And roughly how long ago was that? And what's
The
happened since?
Yeah, so on the January 1st of 2023 was the first day of pure carnivore, and the last day that I drank the lemon drink and had black pepper or lettuce. And I made that day on purpose because it was going to be easy to remember. But yeah, I've been pure carnivore, OMAD, BBB&E, and just drinking water and electrolytes since then, and it's been the easiest, greatest thing. I'm off the oxygen. When I was 18 years old, my oxygen was 88% saturation. As I'm sitting here right now, it's 96% at saturation with no oxygen. So my lungs are better than they were when I was 18, dramatically better. It's insane. Zero depression or anxiety. I thought my depression and anxiety was because my life sucked, to be honest with you. I thought that's where it was coming from. I had no idea that it was hormonal. Had no clue that it was like brain chemistry and just actual physical health. That was one of the easiest things that actually lifted. And I mean, I don't go into it much, but there were some nights that I'm lucky to be here because it was so bad, and I mean, that was the anxiety and depression went away before anything else. Like it was the first thing that went away. And how people aren't treating that with diet, I have no clue. No clue. Because that was so debilitating in my life. And it was so stupid simple to fix. It's just incredible. So, yeah, that just came off. Then the fluid started coming off. And then the weight started coming off. And I started breathing good. My resting pulse back then was like between 98 and like 107 beats per minute. Now it's at 68 beats a minute, and I'm still 460 pounds. But my resting heart rate right now is 68 beats a minute. Lower than it's ever been in my entire life. I can't say it enough. I feel like a new human being, a different, completely different person.
Proper human being.
Exactly. Yep.
That's incredible. The heart rate. I love hearing that too, because Bill Knott, shout out Bill Knott. He's in the chat now too, by the way.
Hey, Bill.
He had his traveling nurse come a while ago. I think she came again recently, but on the last visit he did a video with, and she was amazed with his results. And one of the results was his heart rate getting back to normal, just like you said, Todd. This is crazy. I have so many questions. So, but I guess one other thing. So you're down almost 250 pounds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow.
In 10 months now, basically 10, well, and 11 months. Yeah.
That's incredible. That is so cool.
And I'm going to have my heart looked at again, get another EKG and all that. And then I'm going to do a blood test. I want to see where I'm at, because I feel like it's just all gone, and then I'm going to get the receipts on that,
Yes. That's so cool. I have congestive heart failure too, and I used to always get dizzy standing up, and I told the story earlier, but I'm going in at the end of the year.